Let me turn my device on here. Hey, y'all. I hope everyone is doing well. I hope that you've had an incredible day. I hope that as you're bringing your day to a close, like I am, I hope uh, that you are satisfied with everything that you accomplished today. I wanted to jump on because I wanted to continue just the talk about the things that could steal a leader's peace. I want to continue that conversation. I think the last thing I sent out in the form of a video was where I talked about the unresolved conflict. And I think that the unresolved conflict is something that definitely happens everywhere, whether you're in your family, whether you're in your business, or wherever you go. Sometimes we run into conflict, and sometimes it can get to a place where it's unresolved. But I think that as leaders, as we get ahead of it, and we put systems and open communication, conflict resolution, and those things in place, that we can avoid the long-term effects of unresolved conflict. So, moving right along, I wanted to talk a bit about the second thing. Now, I want everyone to understand that I didn't name everything that could be something to steal a leader's peace, but I felt that these three that I named, um, that they're pretty significant and pretty important. The first one, as I said, unresolved conflict. The second one, overwork and burnout. That's the one I kind of want to focus on this live. And the third one was uncertainty and lack of control. But just talking about the overwork and the burnout, oh, I can't tell you how many times I have felt overworked and felt burnt out between just family, ministry, the ministry that I lead, and still running my business. So sometimes we can have so much going on, and doesn't mean that it's bad. We can have a lot of great things going on. We can be doing well with all of those things. Um, and we could be satisfied with the outcome that we're seeing from our hard work. But sometimes, in the midst of trying to get to that goal, see that vision come to pass, sometimes we get a little bit overworked. And I think we can get ahead of it. I think we can get ahead of it um, if we just look at it on the front side, put things in place so that we don't take on excessive workloads, so we don't take on too much or fail to delegate effectively. And sometimes when we don't, we get overwhelmed, we get exhausted, and we get unable to recharge. And so I think that as we dive into this thing that can steal our peace, and we get ahead of it and put measures in place, I think we can avoid the overwork and the burnout. And even with the overwork and the burnout, if we're being honest, we're really starting to neglect our own self care, our whether it's self care or soul care. We're really neglecting that, because if we have that proper balance, we won't run into overwork. We won't run into the burnout. And without that balance and the time for personal well being, as leaders, we can become mentally and physically drained. And leading in a state like that can be quite stressful. So I hope that as we talk about this, that if you have run into a space in time where you are feeling overworked and you're feeling burnt out, that you can find the relief that you need, that you can begin to get assistance where you need help. One thing I learned is that it's okay to say I need help, because we are not supermen and women. We actually do. function well and function better when we have a team and when we have other people working alongside us. So, overwork and burnout, it can surely rob you of your peace in several critical ways. Um, I just think about the physical exhaustion that you go through when you've been working and working and working and not resting and not taking care of yourself. I just think about the mental exhaustion. You're constantly thinking about what you didn't do, what you didn't get done, and at the same time, forecasting what you need to do and the things you need to take care of. So I think that definitely. Um, to avoid and to combat this overwork and burnout is important to your physical health. It's important to your mental health. And if you're not careful, you'll be emotionally charged and you won't really recognize it because you're physically and mentally tired, and your response to people sometimes can be quite charged or sound sharp, if you will. And sometimes people can be looking like, what's wrong with her? Or what's wrong with him? Let me tell you a short story. I remember when I was in the military. Of course, I'm not going to name names, but I remember I was told by my leader at the time to put myself on his calendar so I could go in and see him as it related to counseling and so on and so forth, the things that we have to do as leaders: give feedback, tell our leaders how they're doing, how they can improve, and so on and so forth. So he told me put myself on his calendar, and I did. I put myself on his calendar, and then when I showed up that morning to receive the counsel that I was supposed to receive, apparently it was not a good morning for him, because he was like, "What do you want, leader?" And I was looking like, "Sir, you told me to get on your calendar, come in and see, and so on and so forth." But on the inside, I was thinking, you told me to get on your calendar. And now you're yelling at me, asking me, what do I want? What do I want? And so I was thinking that in my head. Of course, I didn't say it. But the point I'm saying is that sometimes when you get so overworked, the people that you're leading become the brunt of your emotionally charged behavior as a result of your physical and mental exhaustion. And I think that as leaders, we owe them better. I want to say that again. I said we owe them better. We owe them the best of us because we expect the best of them. I know I'm right about it. So we have to take care of ourselves physically. We got to take care of ourselves mentally. We got to make sure that we pay attention when we're feeling decreased energy, if you will, and overwork drains our physical and mental energy. It makes it hard for us to stay focused. We become less creative and we are less calm. When we are not calm, that's one of the key indicators that we are not at peace. And so I think it's important that we pay attention to ourselves, that we know ourselves, that we're so self-aware. We know when we're off. And sometimes when we're off, we have to take time to step away, recharge so that we come back our best. Because constant fatigue, constant lack of energy, it can leave you feeling overwhelmed and irritable. It can disrupt your ability to lead effectively. It can disrupt your peace. And so I hope that as we go forward and as we grow and learn as leaders, that we make sure that we're paying attention to our own selves, our own energy, our own triggers, our own physical and mental levels, if you will, because sometimes we can be overloaded. And so when leaders are overworked, our minds are constantly racing. I mentioned that before. We're either thinking about what didn't get done, what we need to do, and futuristically, what we want to do. And we get this mental overload. Like we got too much going on, too much we want to do, and too much that's not done. And we have to pay attention to that because it can lead to a difficulty of thinking clearly and making decisions wisely. So let's try to make sure that we work on ourselves to the point that we don't create mental strain. Creating this mental strain will keep us from feeling centered or at ease. I can't tell you, I have so many stories I could tell just for the leaders that I've had in past and even present. You can tell when the leader is at peace. And I can tell you from experience, it is a wonderful thing to know that your leader is centered at peace and ready to give instruction or direction, and you trust that whatever instruction or direction they are giving, it is for good and it's for the betterment of the organization, of the ministry. It's better. And so that's why I think it's so important. This is so near and dear to my heart, leaders, that we have peace because we don't need to, we can't afford to lose focus. Burnouts impair concentration. We'll be all over the place. It can hinder your creativity. It can lead to such frustration that when you are so frustrated, so unable to focus, that you're unable to perform at your usual high standards. When the people you lead know that you perform at a high standard, that you come in on a high note, that you are motivating, that you are inspiring, the moment that you are not that, they recognize it. And if you're not careful, it can change the atmosphere of the team. It can change the workplace, the culture. If it goes on too long, it can change everything. And we don't want to have cycles of stress going around the workplace. We don't want our team worried about us like, are we going to be good today? Are we going to be up today, down tomorrow? Or, they want to know how to expect us as leaders. And so I think it's important that we definitely grab a hold to that physical and that mental state and that awareness so that you know when you're off. You know that you need to, hey, and there's nothing wrong with needing to step away to recharge. It's absolutely nothing wrong with that. We should step away so that we come back our best and we're giving our best and we are serving at our best. And so another thing that overwork and burnout does is it kind of hinders us from connecting. When we feel like we have constant pressure to get this done, pressure to meet this deadline, pressure to get this many customers in, pressure to get whatever it is that we're trying to increase or we're trying to expand or we're trying to scale. When we are under constant pressure, it's hard to connect with those that we lead. It's hard to even connect with people that we're trying to collaborate with those that we're trying to bring along through, teaching and training them how to do the things that we do or do something new on a different level. It's hard to connect because you can't switch off your brain. You can't switch off your mind going all over the place. And even if you're not careful, it's going to carry over into your personal life, that you can't focus or be present with your families, be present with those who have spouses, those who have children. You can't be present because your head is still at work. And so when we find that place where we can be at peace, having that peaceful mindset, stability in our emotions, when we can find that and kind of hover there, because there will always be things to happen. There will always be things to happen, whether it's in the workplace, whether it's in your personal life, because life, the Bible says, happens to, or it says chance happens to us all. So there's always something that will happen. And so when you cannot connect, work keeps on a perpetual state of stress. When you can't connect to that place of peace, when you can't relax, when you can't calm yourself, you have just a state of constant pressure. And I think that we owe ourselves more. We owe the people that we lead more. And you certainly, the last thing I want to talk about is, you do not want to neglect your personal life. You don't want to neglect it, because when you start constantly being anxious or worried about the things that are going on in the workplace, your relationships start to suffer. Whether the relationships are professional relationships or whether they're personal relationships, or even just taking care of yourself, it'll start suffering because of burnout and because of being overworked. And if we don't find a way to find the balance that we need, we'll find ourselves suffering in our or neglecting our personal lives. And that's what you don't want. You want that balance. You want that balance. You want that fulfillment, that all is well in the business, all is well on the job, all is well with your family, all is well with you. You want it to be well. And I think that as we bring these things to light and we begin to address them, if we're dealing with them, and I'm not saying that every leader is, I'm really talking to those who it is affecting. So if it's not affecting you, then maybe you can use this, share this with someone who is. I think as we identify these things that steal our peace and we address them accordingly, we can avoid and combat overwork and um, overload. We can combat that. So the next time I jump on, whether it be in the form of a video presentation or live, I want to talk about the third thing as it relates to the things that can steal our peace. And that third thing will be uncertainty and a lack of control. All right, y'all. I hope y'all have an amazing night. Thank you for